Hello, and welcome to Catholicism in the Car. My name is Parker Zerbal. Okay, today I want to talk about why Catholics in particular should have some sort of an interest in philosophy. So first off, philosophy is the basis of education. It's the basis of thought. It's the basis of how we construct good arguments, how we construct good ways of expressing ourselves. So that alone that claim, if you believe me, should be enough to get Catholics interested in philosophy. Now I'm not saying Catholics need to be interested in different philosophers. You don't have to go and read. You don't have to go and read Aristotle and Plato and Plotinus and Augustine and Averroes, Avicenna, and then more modern people. I guess I'll throw in Bonaventure and Scotus in there too for medievals, and then Kant and Hegel, Heidegger, all these different people. You don't have to read all these different people if you want to be interested in philosophy as a Catholic. Okay, you do if you're really interested in philosophy. I'm really interested in philosophy. Like I want to know the history of thought. I want to know what big influential thinkers have thought throughout time and how their thoughts have affected the world, so that I can better understand my current context. That's a large drive for me in my love of philosophy, is to understand how we got to where we are today in our current culture, and then also like what we can do about it. Because if we know how we got here, we know at least that helps quite a bit in us being able to determine what to do in this current culture and how to react to the culture. Okay, but why should you believe that philosophy is important for you, even if you don't go out and study all these specific philosophers? Now, I would make one caveat on this. I think it would be good for Catholics to familiarize themselves with Aristotle. I do think that would be helpful for Catholics to familiarize themselves with Aristotle in general, because much of Catholic philosophy, at least Thomistic Catholic philosophy, which is the mainstream of Catholic philosophy, as much as I begrudge that in certain ways, because I'm definitely more of the Franciscan school of theology. Anyway, the mainstream of Catholic theology is built upon Aristotelian philosophy, the philosophy of Aristotle. And that doesn't mean you necessarily have to go read him for yourself. There are abundant resources online for you to watch lectures, to hear, audiobooks, things of that nature. And you don't have to go back and read the primary sources. I would definitely suggest it if you can stomach it. But if it's way too dry for you, if it's way too, I don't want to use a word like complex, but it can get pretty complex. It can get confusing reading Aristotle. I've only read most of his works one time, and I don't feel like I really understand him very well. I feel like I could read them 1,000 more times, and I still wouldn't understand him that great. I'd understand him quite a bit better. I'd be able to convey it a lot better to other people. But, would I understand Aristotle? No. But anyway, I think Catholics should at least familiarize, wow, I'm having trouble with that word today, themselves with the thought of Aristotle, whether that's going back and actually reading his writings, or if it's going to secondary sources like lectures and books that try to explain his thought to a modern day reader in a more bite-sized manner. So I think that's one really big reason why Catholics should at least have an appreciation for philosophy. Another reason is for the sake of apologetics. Now, I don't mean that everyone needs to be like a formal apologist and things of that nature, but we should be, as, 1 Peter 3:15? 1 Peter 3:15, I think, says, always be ready and give a reason for your hope, right? Always be ready to give a reason for your hope. I'm paraphrasing there. we should always be ready to give a reason why we believe what we believe. Why, first and foremost, why the good news is actually good news. Why the gospel is the gospel, and why people need to hear about it. But then also explaining it to those who maybe know the gospel, at least on some level, but have bits and pieces of it wrong, or considerable amounts of the gospel wrong. Okay, and trying to give a defense for the Catholic faith as opposed to those other denominational faiths, or Eastern Orthodoxy to a certain extent. Although, to my understanding, we're not necessarily supposed to evangelize Eastern Orthodox, like actively. We're supposed to give witness to the Catholic faith and give them reasons, but the Orthodox are the true church still. They're in schism, but they are the true church. They don't have the absolute fullness that the Western Church has, because they're lacking union with the See of Rome, right? But they have everything else. So we're not really, in my understanding, and I've gotten this from several Eastern Catholics, that we're not really supposed to evangelize the Orthodox in the way that we would try to evangelize Protestants, and especially in the way that we would try to evangelize non-Christians, right? Because the Orthodox, that's really something that needs to be taken care of at the upper levels, the reunion there. It really needs to be taken care of between patriarchs, basically. There isn't much the average layperson can do to affect that union in any direct way. And not to say, it's still good to, talk with Eastern Orthodox about these things, of course, for the sake of it, but that is slightly different than evangelizing. We're not going out to them, seeing them as people that more of the truth, or lacking the truth in it. Because the only way that they are is in regards to the papacy, and really only in one aspect of the papacy, and that's universal jurisdiction. They really, most Orthodox believe in papal primacy. They tout, he's the first among equals. Now the question is whether he has universal jurisdiction for all the churches, even the Orthodox churches. Anyway, so philosophy is useful for evangelization and apologetics, and it's also useful just for your own communication of the faith, even if it's not in an evangelization or apologetic manner. It's good just on a human to be able to express yourselves in ways that philosophy teaches you to do that, for you to organize your thoughts in the ways that philosophy teaches you to do so. So, in summary, I think it's really good for Catholics to understand philosophy because of the roots in our theology. Our theology is rooted in philosophy, and it depends on which school you're in. Thomism is definitely very rooted in Aristotelianism. The Franciscan school is rooted in both Aristotelianism, if you take more of a Scotist view. If you take a more Bonaventurean view, you're more rooted in Augustinian philosophy and Neoplatonic philosophy, and thus Plato. And then I don't know that much about the other schools of Catholic theology. That's something I'm trying to learn more about. I really want to compile some things on that. I think that would be really helpful for people and for myself, but I haven't been able to really dive into sources too much as of yet. So there's that, the relation with Catholic theology. There's the relation with apologetics, and evangelization, and then there's just the human on the human, what you need to communicate. So hope that helps. Thanks.
Oh, real quick, please feel free to subscribe to any of my podcasts on any of the podcast players. Find me on YouTube. Please subscribe. Like me on Facebook, like the Catholicism Car channel on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're all there. Catholicism Car. And then I also have a Patreon account if you wish to support what I do at this podcast and this YouTube channel. And you can also support us on Anchor.fm. There's a support button there you click on. I also have links to all this on my website's support page at www.catholicisminthecar.com.